Hakadosh Boker Or Masechet Bava Kamma Daf Hey Amud Aleph 75a1. We were just speaking about the entire concept of Rabbi Gamliel, that he came and he blinded his servant Tevi's eye, and he was very, very happy because now he was able to come and to release him. And he told Rabbi Yoshua. So Rabbi Yoshua came and he told him, "I don't understand you. Oh, what are you talking about? Why? Because if he doesn't have a deen, there's nothing what to talk about. If there's no deen, right? You're modeh b'knas, right? But there's nothing what to talk about. Why? Because once you're modeh b'knas, you're patur. So you don't have to let him out free. So mashma, though, you can imply that if you did have a deen, so then what would happen? He would be chayav, even though he's going to be modeh b'knas. So therefore, this is not going to be like Rav Huna in the name of Rav. So Rav Huna is going to answer you, what are you talking about? Rav Gamliel was a completely different case. Since Rav Gamliel was not being modena bedin, so that's why it's going to be, it doesn't help him to be modeh b'knas. When does he say modeh b'knas patur v'achak ba'oedim, that you're still going to be patur? Only if you're modeh b'knas b'fnei bedin. He's not in front of bedin. So says the Gemara, what are you talking about? Rabbi Yoshua was av bedin. So the Gemara answers, Shalom bedin kai. It wasn't inside the bedin. Okay. That we're studying today's daf. V'atanya, we learned in a braita, em bedvarecha klum shekvar hodeta. What are you talking about? I thought it says that you don't have anything in your words because ata kvar hodeta leze. So to merit, you already admitted to it. So since you already admitted to it, that's it. So my love tanai. So then doesn't that mean that it's a machlokot tanaim? Hi Tana damar shekvar en lecha edim. This Tana, which is Rabbi Yoshua, that he says that you don't have any edim, he holds modeh b'knas edim chayav. You're going to be chayav. And the other Tana, the Braita, says shekvar hodeta savar modeh b'knas you're going to be patur. So answers the Gemara, no. According to Rav Huna, you could actually come and you could answer Rav Huna in the name of Rav. According to everybody, if you're going to be modeh b'knas and then afterwards the edim are going to come, you're going to be patur. So what is the machlokah then? Haitana de Amar ubehakami palge. Haitana de Amar. This Tana says shekvar en lecha edim. You don't have edim. Savar chutz bedinava. He holds that it's outside of bedin, and therefore, since it's outside of bedin, it does not help to be patur mikras, because since you gave the hoda outside of the bedin, so lo neshav hoda. Modeh biknas im ata olech letoch bedin v'ata modeh. Yeah, you went inside of the bedin, but if you're outside of the bedin, sam ani omer lecha, derech agav, אתה לא פטור. לא הודית בקנס, זה לא יהיה בבדין. והחתנה, the other Tana holds שכבר הודית סבב בדין, אבל it wasn't בדין. Right? Why? Because כאילו, that since he was av bedin, so he had the power to be the bedin, that he could be poter אותו. Okay? Fine. נקודה. Itman, it was stated. מודה בקנס ואחר כך באו עדים, רב אמר פטור ושמואל אמר חייב. So here's the מחלוקת. If you are going to be מודה בקנס, and then afterwards, two edim come and they testify against you, machloket Rav and Shmuel. Rav says patur, Shmuel says you're going to be chayav. So Amar Rav Bar Ilai, says Rav Bar Ilai, my tamad Rav, what's the reasoning of Rav? Im himase be'edim, timase be'dayanim. He comes and he says like this. He says, it says in the pasuk, im himase timase ganav yeshanayim yeshalem. Himase, we're talking about be'edim. Timatze be'dayanim. What is that coming to teach you? Prat le'marshiat atzmo. This comes to be excluding somebody that's going to be marshiat atzmo, that he makes himself a rasha, that he comes and he's modeh. So lamali, why do I need it me'asher yashiyun afka? You already learned it from asher yashiyun, that they made him into a rasha, not that he made himself into a rasha. So ela shemami, now we learn from here, modeh be'knas v'chak ba'o edim patur. So he says, modeh be'knas, and afterwards come edim, you're going to be patur. Shmuel, but according to Shitat Shmuel, that says you're going to be chayav, Amalechai is going to tell you, hahu mibayle, that you need, leganav atzmo, for the ganav himself, that he's going to be chayav l'tashlume kefel. And not only when he says, twen tanat ganav. Remember, there's ganav and twen tanat ganav. Twen tanat ganav was, you gave me something to watch over, and then you say, where is it? I say, ganvu edze. That's twen tanat ganav. I said that they גנבו את זה, אבל מי לקח את זה באמת? אף אחד. אז במקרה הזה, in that case where nobody took it, and really I was טוען טענה גנב, I'm going to be חייב. How do you know the גנב עצמו, that somebody comes and he steals, has the same halacha? That's where he learns it from. So So eight ve Rav l'Shmuel. So Rav comes and he asks another question against Shemuel, and he says like this: Imagine right now the Ganav comes and he sees Edim coming. The Amar, and he says, he runs into Bedim and he says, Ganavti. Yeah, I stole. But I didn't slaughter or sell it. It comes out that he only has to pay the keren. He comes and he sees Edim coming. He runs to Bedim, Ganavti. I stole. But he told them, so lifnehem, he sees that they're coming. So says the Gemara, he only has to pay the keren, he only has to pay the principal, he doesn't have to pay kanas, the kefel. So Elmaleh, he says, what are we dealing with? No, they retracted. They retracted. And they never came. That's the case that he only pays keren. Meaning, according to Shitat Shmuel, Zelo Zer, it doesn't help if Edim are going to come. Because even if Edim come afterwards, he's still chayav. So what's up, Pshat? Says, no, they were coming. He testified, and then they never came. They said, you know what, okay, that's it. They never came. They never showed up. That's the case that he's going to be patur from kefel. He only has to pay the keren. So ask the Gemara, v'hami netani seifa, but from the seifa, Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon Omer, Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon says, Yavo yadim v'yayidu, when it says that witnesses are going to come, they're going to testify. Miklal, the Tanakama Savalo. So it's mashman, the Tanakama doesn't hold of this then. So Amaleh Shmuel says, Lavi Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon the Kai Kavati. He says, 1 second, but I have Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon that holds like me, right? Ana de Amri Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon. So I hold like Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon. Then what? Then you're still going to be chayav if the witnesses come afterwards. So says the Gemara, Li Shmuel Vadai Tanahi. You're right. According to Shitat Shmuel, for sure this is a machloket Tanaim. Nothing more to talk about. For sure it's machloket Tanaim. But according to Rav, Milema Tanaim. According to Rav, whoever said it's a machloket Tanaim. So Amar lecha Rav is going to say, Ana de Amre afilu Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon. I hold even according to Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon. Ad kan lo kamar Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon hatam. What are we going to talk about Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon? Ela mishum de kamodi mechamar biyetuta deedim. Because they are going to be modeh because of the pahad. They're going to be modeh because they're afraid of the din. Right? Aval hacha, but here, the modeh me'atzmo, that he's coming and he's saying it on his own, afilu Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon modeh. That means Rav comes and he says like this. There's going to be a difference whether he's modeh me'atzmo or he's modeh biglal pachad ha'edim. He says if he's modeh biglal pachad ha'edim, that's when Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon says, no, they're still chayav. Why? He wasn't modeh b'knas. Hu lo ratza sheyidu edim. So what? He comes out, he tries to get out of it. No, they're your chayav. Aval im en edim ve'en af echad. And he's modeh b'knas, there's no edim to that. He's modeh b'knas. Even Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon, according to Rav, is going to be modeh, and he's going to be patur. Why? He did it himself. Uitcharet, right? He has remorse, he does teshuvah, and therefore he's going to be patur. So Amar Rav Amnuna says, Rav Amnuna, Mistabra Milta de Rav, it's also logical that Rav said, Beomer ganavti, that he says I stole, Uba edim sheganav, shapatur, shalech yev atzmo b'keren, but he already obligated himself in keren. Aval Amar, but if he said lo ganavti, and then Edim came and they say sheganav, and then he said tavachti or macharti, and then Edim came and they said tavach machar, he's going to be chayav. Shareh, right? Shareh patar atzmo miklum, because he knew he was modeh b'knas, was going to be patur. He never wanted to obligate himself. Right? You understood the case? One more time. Ganav ba v'omer lo macharti, lo ganavti. When he says lo ganavti, הוא התחייב במשהו, לא התחייב בכלום. Why? He says, לא גנבתי. באו שני עדים, גנבת. Yeah, you did steal. So now he has to pay. He has to pay keren וכפל. All of a sudden he comes and he says, לא טבחתי ולא מכרתי. באו עדים, טבח ומכר. In such a case, הוא אף פעם לא יתחייב לכלום.
עכשיו שאתה אומר באו עדים.
סליחה. לא שלא טבחתי ומכרתי. כן טבחתי ומכרתי. במקרה הזה, right? He says he's going to be chayav. Why? Because pater atzmo miklum. He knew that modeh b'knas was patur, so he never wanted to obligate himself. So if he wanted to be patur legamre, in such a case, it doesn't work. Meaning like this. מודה בקנס פטור זה בגלל שאתה מחייב את עצמך במשהו, ואז אתה פוטר את עצמך מהקנס. I'm obligating myself in the keren, but I'm exempting myself in the knas. But if I come in and I want to exempt myself from הכל, אז זה כלום. אני לא עשיתי כלום. אני באתי, לא גנבתי, אז אני פטור מהכל. שתי עדים באו, גנבת. אז אתה חייב גם בקרן וגם כפל. פתאום אני אומר, טבחתי ומכרתי. רק שנייה, אתה אמרת לפני 2 דקות, you said 2 minutes ago, that you didn't even steal. מה פתאום עכשיו שגנבת, שטבחת ומכרת? אתה רצית להיפטר מ4 ו5. באו 2 עדים, טבחת ומכרת. right? עכשיו הוא חייב גם את הטביחה בחילה. Why? Because he never wanted to obligate himself anything.
אז אם במקרה הראשון הוא היה זה, הוא לא היה חייב טביחה במחילה.
לא אמר רבא קם זה ניסס, כי פחתי לסבא דברב. אני סתרתי, I argued, right? I contradicted the words of the זקנים of the בית המדרש of רב. רב גמליאל, רב גמליאל is the one who's פוטר עצמו מכלום זה. right? He was פוטר את עצמו from everything. right? וכמה לרב חסתה, לרב הונא, and רב חסתה told רב הונא, ולא כמה שנים להם, he didn't answer that. Meaning like this, one more time. What did Rabbi Gamliel do? Rabbi Gamliel went and he was simet eno shel avdo. Right? He made his servant blind.
לשחרר אותו.
Right? לשחרר אותו. Right? אבל לא בכוונה. אבל הוא היה שמח שזה... עכשיו, הוא בא והוא מודה בקנס. Yeah? So, when he's coming to be מודה בקנס, it comes out that he's being פוטר את עצמו מהכל. It means that he's פטור מהכל. Why? Because if he says that he punched out his servant, and now the guy, so he doesn't go off free, so he's patur me'akol. They didn't answer now to answer up that no, that it should be patur. So they didn't answer up that he was being puter et atzmo me'akol. We didn't say that. So Itma Nami, right, it was also stated, Amar Ochia Baraba Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Ochia Baraba named Rabbi Yochanan, Ganavti. Imagine somebody comes and he says Ganavti, he stole. And then Ba'u Edim, Sheganav. He's going to be patur. Shalech yivet etzmo bekeren, but he's obligated himself in keren. Aval amar shelo ganav, but if he said that he didn't steal, and then Edim came and they said he stole, and then he comes and he says tavachti umacharti, and then the Edim came and they said tavach umachar, he's going to be chayav. Shareh patar etzmo miklum. So that's what we said before. Meaning, if the ganav wanted to be puter etzmo me'akol, he's chayav in everything. If he was already obligating himself in something, so then he's going to be patur. So Amar Ravashi says, Matznitin u'braita nami daika. You can actually deduce it from the Matznitin the Braita. Matznitin, Tetzran, look at the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Ganav al pi shnayim v'tavach u'machar al pi yed echad. If he stole with 2 witnesses and then he was tavach u'machar with 1 witness, or al pi atzmo, meshalem tashlum bekefel, he has to pay kefel, ve'eno meshalem tashlum, but he doesn't pay 4 or 5 times. Lama li detani, why do we learn Ganav al pi shnayim? He comes and he says, because he wanted to teach you that what? That you're not going to be mechayev the knas, right? Al pi atzmo. So litzni ganav v'tavach u'machar al pi yed echad or al pi atzmo. Eno meshalem et keren. Why don't we just say you don't pay the keren? El alav ein hamud bet 75b. El alav, but rather hakmash malan, this comes to teach you ganav al pi shnayim v'tavach al pi yed echad or al pi atzmo. If you stole al pi shnayim and you were tavach al pi yed echad or al pi atzmo, whether it's al pi yed echad or al pi atzmo, right? De lo mechayev atzmo bekeren, that you're not going to be chayev the keren. Hu damnina, and we're going to say al pi atzmo do al pi echad, just like himself is like with 1 witness. Ma al pi echad, just like if it's going to be 1 witness. Remember, what do we say? We said that there was 1 witness because if you have another witness, it combines, and then they can both testify together against him. Mechayev, he's going to be chayav al pi atzmo. I mean the same thing. Kiyatu edim, when 2 witnesses come, mechayev, he's going to be chayav. Aval ganav tavach machal al pi echad or al pi atzmo. But if he was doing the gneva and the tvicha umechira al pi echad or al pi atzmo, that he already obligated himself in the keren. Lo amrina, we don't say al pi atzmo dunya al pi echad, right? Why? Because then he was already model pi, so therefore he was going to be mitchayev in the keren, and then he's going to come and he's going to be patur from the knas. Okay. Now the Gemara is going to say that the Braita is also meduyak. What's the Braita? The Braita says, right, the Tanya, Ra edim shemashmeshim ubaim. If he saw edim that they're going to be mashmeshim ubaim, the Amar, and he says ganavti. So imagine he sees edim coming, they run. They say ganavti. Ro'im et ganav. Aval lo tavachti velo macharti.
לא ברחתי.
Yeah, but he says, but I didn't do tvicha umechira. Eno meshalem ela keren. You're only going to pay the keren. So he says, Lama limnitni, why do we have to teach the case of ganavti, avalot tavachti lo macharti? Nitni, why don't we just teach the case of ganavti, tavachti, macharti? Ela kamashmalan, which comes to teach you, ta'amad amar ganavti, the reason why he says it's ganavti, because he already obligated himself in keren, and therefore he's going to be patur. But if he says lo ganav, he says, I did not steal, okay, and then ba'u edim sheganav. Then the edim come and they say that he stole. Lechazar v'amar, and then he says, tavachti u'macharti, that tavachti u'macharti, u'ba'u edim, and then the edim come and tavach u'machar, teloch yevet atzmo keren, he's not obligated in the keren, so he's going to be chayav. Alma, so you see from here, hoda'at tvicha lav hoda'ahi. The hoda'ah of tvicha is not considered hoda'ah. Okay, Amri, they said, no, it's not true. You cannot make a duke from that from the Braita. Why? Yegufa kamashmana, that's a chidush. The Kevin Damar ganavti, once he says ganavti, af agav damar, even though he said lo tavachti v'lo macharti, and then it didn't come and they say tavachti, right, that he did tavach u'machar, he's still going to be patur. My time, what's the reasoning? He says tashlume arba'a v'chamisha amar Rachmana, right? V'lo tashlume arba'a v'lo tashlume shlosha, which means this. The Torah says that it's one concept. One concept of what? Of arba'a v'chamisha. And it's not going to be a concept of anything else. What does it mean now of anything else? It means, right, that there's not going to be another concept, right, of other things, right? Meaning like this. When it says arba'a v'chamisha, זה חייב להיות arba'a v'chamisha. זה לא יכול להיות שלושה או ארבעה, או דברים כאלה. Right? So, if you already came and you already told me that he's going to be, right, chayav, whether it's going to be the keren, and he's going to be patur on the knas, so then you cannot be mechayev arba'a v'chamisha. בגלל ארבעה וחמישה זה לא ארבעה וחמישה, זה רק קרן, כפל, ואז את העוד שתיים או עוד שלוש. אבל אם אתה אומר שהוא חייב את הקרן, that he's obligated to the principle, and he's going to be patur on the knas, so then what does that mean now that he's going to be obligated on the rest? Doesn't make sense. Yeah? So says the Gemara, you're right. Lema k'tanai, what do we just say? It's a machlok k'tanai. Hayut shnai me'idim sheganav. Two witnesses said that he's going to be, that he stole. And two other witnesses says that he was tavach u'machar. Huzmu edei agneva. And the edei agneva were made edim zomnim. Edut shebadla mitzvata b'yotar kula. That's it. The entire thing fell. In en lecha edim, if you do not have edim on the what? On the gneva, אז לא משנה שיש לך edim על התביכה מחילה, זה לא עוזר לי. It doesn't help. I need edim on the gneva first. So if I make edim zomnim the edei gneva, כלום. אין כלום. Yeah?
זה שלי, מה זה?
בדיוק. אז משום, right, הוזמו על העדות שבטלה מצווה, בטלו כולה. הוזמו עדי תביכה, but if it was only made עדים זומין לתביכה, he still pays כפל, והם משלמים, they have to pay, תשלומי שלושה. משום סום חוסי סד, משלמים תשלומי כפל, והוא משלם תשלומי שלושה לפער ושנם לעין. So what is Sumchus now coming and saying? Sumchus says that they have to pay tashlume kefel and they have to pay tashlume shlosha lepar u'shleim la'ayin. What's going on? If you're talking about the Reisha case, Sumchus doesn't hold of edut shebatla miktzata batla kula. Why doesn't Sumchus hold of it? If you took away the Ikar testimony, you have nothing left. If you took away the Ikar, gamarnu. Ela seifa, we're talking about the seifa. The Shapil Kamer Rabbanan, and that's what the rabbi said. Who משלם תשלומי כפל ומשלמים תשלומי שלושה. They have to pay כפל, and the other ones are going to pay to שלושה. אלא מין תכלית כבני, the difference between them is going to be, כגון דתו בתרי, there were two witnesses that came, and they said, גנבת, you stole. אמר להו, he told them, in yes, גנבתי, I stole, but also טבחתי ומכרתי. מי הוא לא מפניכם גנב, but I didn't steal in front of you. זאת אומרת, הוא מודה שהוא גנב, אבל לא לפניכם. והייתי סד, then he brought witnesses, and they made them in דין זומין. And then he said, look, I didn't steal in front of you. And then the balabait brought witnesses. And they said, no, he was. That's an incredible case. Yeah? So he says, so now the machloket is to do the tohoda'ah on the tvicha. The Rabbanan Savre, because the rabbis hold, he was only modeh because of the edim. But he says, Odat Tvicha, Odah Hi. It's a good Odah. The Patur, and you're going to be Patur. The Sumchus Savan and Sumchus holds, given the Hoda'ah, the Gneva, B'chamat Edin, since the Hoda'ah of the Gneva was because of the Edin, Tvicha is not considered Hoda'ah. So Hanach Edin Kamai does meaning. So this first witnesses, Mishalim Tashum Ekefel, they're going to pay Tashum Ekefel. V'hu Mishalem Shlosha Leparush Le'nayim. So therefore he has to pay because of the second Edut on the Tvicha. So the only way to explain Sumchus in the Braita is to say that we're talking about the Machloket, that since it comes out that the koach of the Hoda'ah was not mechayev klum to be poter from the knas if witnesses are going to come afterwards. So that's a machloket tanaim. So Amar Ravacha bered Ravika lo, it's incorrect. Techule alma, according to everybody, Hoda'ah the tvicha lav Hoda'ah. The Hoda'ah on the tvicha is not considered Hoda'ah. Ela be'edut she'yeta yuchol azima kamipageh. But here the machloket is, what happens if you have edut that you cannot make them edin zomim? For example, Kegon Datu Sades, witnesses came, and they said, Ganafta, you stole. Famalu, and he said, Ganafti, yes, Tavachti Macharti, and I also slaughtered and sold it. You, however, though I didn't do it in front of you. Lo bifnechem Ganafti. Ela bifne ploni ploni, but in front of these two guys. And then those two guys came, he brought witnesses, and he made them edin zomim. Yeah, ve'atu ploni ploni, and then those two guys came, and they testified that he was Ganav and Tavachu Machar. So in such a case, that's why it's going to be completely ubehakam ipageh. So that's a machlok between them. The Rabbanan savre that the rabbis hold you cannot make it hazama, because since the ganav was modeh that he did it in front of a din, they can never do any more vasite no kasha zamam, because he was already modeh, and therefore that they're not going to be chayav to him. Yechol edut sheyata yechol hazima is not considered edut. Sumchus holds no edut sheyata yechol hazima. It is considered edut. So says the Gemara, Kamelan, we said, but we paskin, edut, it is not considered an edut. What do I care whether it's a machlok? Edut she'iyata yechol hazima. If you have edut that you cannot make the bedin zomim, it's not considered a good edut. So answers the Gemara, one of these words, only if they did not know, be'eze yom be'eze sha'a, right? What day and what time. Teleka edut klal, but then it's not considered edut. But here, siyuahu de kamisailu, he helped them by coming and saying exactly what was going on. And because of that, since he's mar'eh on the truth of the testimony, that's why the edut is actually going to be kosher. And that's what we're going to continue with Zat Hashem.